Welcome to the People First weekly webinar. I'm your host, Todd Hendricks, and today we're going to be talking about from wallflowers to warriors, activating the quiet people on your team. So we have all worked with introverted people or people who are just quiet and don't vocally speak up very much. And sometimes as leaders, like myself, I'm an extroverted person. I see engagement verbally as you are engaged and you are participating. And when you are not, then I'm thinking, oh, maybe they're not participating. Maybe they're not engaged. Well, oftentimes they really are just mentally, and they don't feel the need that they have to say anything like us extroverted people who are kind of crazy. So, your quiet employees may hold untapped leadership potential because we're always going to be talking about leadership, and you just might not know it. So, introverts often observe more than they speak, and they might not let on the things that they're taking in. And if you have a wallflower person, they're going to be the people who are sitting on the wall, watching everybody and observing everything. They could have some really fantastic insights that you don't have as the extroverted leader. Why? Because if you're extroverted and you're in a leadership position, you are engaging with people almost all of the time. Whereas somebody who's sitting on the wall engaging with nobody can observe everything. So their insights can be very, very valuable. Now, I know I'm making this super simplistic, but if you have people who are really quiet and just watch, their insights will often be very deep and very accurate because they're not distracted by anything. They're just having the opportunity to watch and observe. Silence doesn't mean that they haven't engaged. Silence doesn't mean that they haven't learned anything. And silence also doesn't mean that they don't have really valuable insight. If they are doing the job, whatever it is, maybe they're stamping widgets and they don't ever talk about it, they probably have something to say about it, but nobody's ever asked them. And they don't feel the need to volunteer that information because that's just not their personality. So we as leaders need to know and understand the personalities of our people. We know who our extroverts are because they're the ones who talk. They're the ones who engage. They're the ones who are out there. Then we've got kind of like the middle ground people who say something when, they really feel passionate about it. But sometimes they stay quiet. And then we've got the introverts who don't say much at all ever. Everybody is going to have insights if they're doing the job. If you've got those three different kinds of people and they are all stamping widgets together, they're all going to have insights because they are in the trenches doing the work, doing the job. So they're going to have insights to whatever it is that they're working on. Ask each one of them equally. So let's talk about how you can create some space for these people. Now, if you're going to have a meeting, and oftentimes what leaders do is if you're having a meeting and there's a group there, they'll be like, okay, who's got an idea? And who's going to voice up? Extroverts, always. They always have something to say. They always feel that what they have to say is important and other people need to know that. And oftentimes we'll get 3 or 4 people deep there. And okay, yep, it's time to move on. And then our introverts are just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just sit here and sit quiet, even if they have some really good things to say. So one of the things that you can do as a leader is to say, I am going to give everyone the opportunity to share during this time. Now, that is kind of putting it out there, giving them the opportunity to share. They might not choose to share. Take that a step further, and as a leader, you can say, I would like to hear from everybody on this topic. Please come prepared. Now, everybody understands they are all going to have to share. They are all going to have an opportunity, and it's their job to be prepared at this meeting with whatever it is that they're going to say. So make sure you do that. Also, maybe before the meeting, you're having a conversation with one of the introverts and you just say, hey, that's a really good idea. During the meeting, I'm going to call on you and I want you to bring that idea up. So you're kind of setting the stage a little bit. You're prepping them. Hey, I'm going to call on you and I want you to say that thing so everybody else hears it. Now you may say, well, Todd, that's kind of manipulative, isn't it? Like you're kind of setting the stage and setting almost a script for your meeting. As a leader, if that's what I need to do, yes. Is that being manipulative? No, that is being prepared. And if this person has a really good idea and I need to pull that out of them, then that's the way that I'm going to do it. And they need that prep time so that they can get their thoughts together because they probably don't like talking in front of a group. But if I say, hey, that's a really good idea and I'm going to call on you during the meeting, I want you to share that idea. That's just giving them time to be ready. so that they don't stumble over their words or come across awkward or whatever it is, because some people don't like that. Another thing that you can do kind of on the opposite end of the meeting is after the meeting, you can go and say, hey, I noticed that you raised your eyebrow or you made a face, or I noticed this during the meeting when I said, fill in the blank. Can you give me some of your insights as to that on that topic? And just follow up with them after the meeting. And then there's nobody else around. It's just you and the person. You have that opportunity to talk to each other. And it's a one-on-one conversation. Introverts are usually a lot more conversation oriented when it's just a one-on-one. They don't like being in groups. Now, I know I keep using the word introvert, and some introverts are very comfortable speaking out. So these principles kind of apply to anybody who's quiet, reserved, and doesn't kind of give their opinion or talk out in meetings or publicly. Just because they don't doesn't mean they don't have value. And just because they don't talk out doesn't mean they don't have really, really good ideas that you maybe need. If they're the ones doing the work, their insight is valuable. So some of the strategies that I would recommend to draw them out without forcing them to be extroverted. If I've got Sally is this person I'm going to talk about. So let's say Sally, I know, is in this group meeting and I know she hates talking in front of a group. If I make her talk in front of the group, is that going to promote her talking in the group later? Well, some of us, break her in and she'll get used to it sooner or later, and she's got to toughen up and whatever. Sure, maybe sometimes that might work. Or what if I find the way that they can lead best? Maybe they don't lead well in front of a group, but maybe they've got a small team around them of 2 to 4 people, and they communicate really, really well with them. Okay, maybe that's the point that I'm going to tap them for leadership. Hey, in the meeting, this was discussed. Your team is really close and cohesive, and I see that you have some really good ideas. Can you lead this initiative with the 3 or 4 people that you work with? Do you think you could handle that? Start small, something small. Yeah, actually, I could talk with them. We were just talking about that at break time. Okay, great. And then once something's accomplished, don't celebrate the people just because they're like, oh, Todd, I said this and I did this great thing. Okay, fantastic. Look for results. What is actually getting done? Because sometimes extroverts such as myself, they will talk about this great idea, but they won't actually ever get anything done. Introverts are probably some of the people who are going to get it done and just not talk about it. So make sure you as a leader are looking at the things that are actually being accomplished. Is this working towards the mission of the company, the vision, the goals that we have set out? Wow, this introverted person has hit their goal 10 months out of 10 months in a row. This extroverted person has hit it 50% of the time. Just because the squeaky wheel gets the grease doesn't mean that's the best wheel, okay? So let me talk about Sally. And this is something I actually got some feedback from one of my training groups that they said the stories that you use in kind of real life examples help us remember these things better. So this is a story that I actually used and actually did, and it worked really well. So I'm going to go way back to my teacher days. And I was an assistant principal, and I had a group of teachers that I was overseeing. And there was this one teacher who was using a new teaching technique. And I was in her classroom and doing some observations, and I saw her using this technique because we had talked about it, and it was going really well. And so after, that class was done, I kind of stopped her and said, hey, how is this going? What are you seeing? What are the results of this teaching technique that you're using? And she said, well, what I'm seeing is test scores are getting really, really, they're rising. They're getting better. And the students are much more engaged. Like, I think it's better learning for their brains because they're retaining the information better. I said, okay, you're doing this in this one small pocket of your curriculum. I want you to expand that. I'm not going to talk to anybody about it. I just want you to do this as an experiment, and let's just see where it goes. She's like, okay, sounds good. That's it. That took me, 60 seconds to talk about? Remember, exceptional leadership can be done in short bursts of time. So I come back a week later. Hey, how's it going? Have you expanded it? Yes, I have. I have expanded it. It's going well there in across all board or across all areas. It's really going well. I think we're going to see some really good results from this. Okay, do it for another week and then let's talk about it. Perfect. So again, touch it for 30 seconds and then I'm done. She knows what to do. She's going to do it. So now I'm 2 weeks into this process. At the end of the second week, I'm like, hey, are we still, seeing test scores improve, learning, retention going through the roof? And she's like, yes, it's amazing. And I said, okay, at the next grade level meeting, I'm going to ask you about that in front of the other grade level teachers. So just tell them what you're telling me and what you're seeing. So I'm not asking her to give a report. I'm just asking her to talk about herself, her classroom, and her students, which most teachers are fine doing. Then I went over to some of the other grade level teachers and I was like, hey, has Sally talked to you about the new teaching techniques that she's using in her classroom? No, she hasn't. I said, okay, it's going really well. It's really pretty amazing. I'm going to have her talk about it at the next grade level meeting. Okay. So now, week later, now I'm 3 weeks in. She starts talking about this. Now, the other grade level teachers have already heard me talk about this. So it's in the back of their minds. Sally then comes in and talks about it and says how well it's going. That's the second and third touch for some of these other grade level teachers. They're like, oh, that's interesting. And I said, if you'd like to try it, here's where Sally started. It was super, super easy to start, super easy to do. Just try that. And they're like, okay. And then after that meeting was done, I said, Sally, at the next grade level meeting next week, I want you to give specific examples on how the other teachers could implement this in their classroom. Okay. She's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Not a big lift for her because she'd already just talked about it. So I'm just adding one more little increment, just another inch or so. Right. So now we're going to be 4 weeks. Now we're a month in. Right. But I am now starting to give Sally little pieces of leadership. She's going to now instruct the other grade level teachers on how to do this thing. Cool. So I let it go another week. Again, I'm not doing any heavy lifting. I'm not doing a ton of work. All I'm doing is just literally picking the box up and moving it further down the sidewalk, so to speak. So now that's going on. So we get to the next week. She talks to the grade level teachers. They all say, yes, I'm going to implement that in my classroom. Fantastic. Now I've got that whole grade level on board. So what do? I go to the hall and I start talking to the other teachers in the hall. Hey, did you hear what fifth grade's doing over here? They've implemented this new teaching technique. It's going really well. You should ask them about it. Oh, all right. Yeah, cool. Now, not all of them did, but that's okay. A couple did. And then I went down to Sally and the other grade level teachers. Hey, did anybody ask you about that? Because I kind of mentioned it to some of them. Actually, yeah, one of them did. One did ask about it. Oh, all right, cool. That's all I said. All right, interesting. Yeah. So then now we're 5 weeks in, and some of the other grade levels are like, hey, we've heard that fifth grade is doing this thing. It sounds pretty cool. And I was like, you know what? Next week, Sally, would you be okay just sharing some of the things that you've done in your classroom with these other teachers? Just real quick. All right, great. Thanks. Next week, we'll talk about it next week. Another week. Now, I know this is stretching into 6 weeks now, right? 6 weeks long. So at the grade level, at the next big meeting that we have, now we're 6 weeks in. Sally now is sharing her teaching techniques, which are corroborated and validated by the other grade level teachers. Oh, yes, Sally told us about it. We're doing it. It's going fantastic. What do we have? We have momentum. So now the rest of the hallway teachers, the other grade level teachers in that hallway are like, fifth grade's doing it. Sally started it. The other teachers are doing it. It's all going really well for them. I want in on this. So now I've got the whole hallway starting to get into this teaching technique, and it's going really well. So I'm not going to keep building this for you. But at the end of, 6 weeks, once I got to about 2.5 months, I asked Sally if she would share what she's doing in her classroom with a building-wide staff meeting. Now, could I have asked Sally to do that 8 weeks ago? No, because she's a wallflower. She was an introvert. She's shy. That would have scared her. That would have intimidated her and overwhelmed her. But what have I been doing with Sally? I've been having small, short conversation with her. I've been encouraging her and showing her that what she's doing is improving her students' learning abilities. Now, because I've been having Sally tell the other grade level teachers, tell the other grade level teachers down the hall. She's been slowly telling more and more people about this. You see where this is going? And now I've got Sally to a point where she can now present to the whole building staff some of the things that she's been doing. Great story. You want to know how it ends? I was the dean that helped Sally do that. When I left, guess who became the dean? Sally. Now, I did not, and it didn't happen immediately. There was another dean in between us, but she grew to a point where she felt she could be a dean as well and do that. And so did I cause that? No, I'm not taking credit for that at all. But what I'm saying is I slowly built her up over a period of time. I knew what I was doing. That was my map for Sally the entire time. Was I knew what she had was gold, solid gold. And I wanted the entire building to do that, but I knew she wasn't ready to do that right then and there. So I had to build her up for that. So that was a practical way to get one of my wallflowers transformed into a building leader. And then, yes, eventually she became a building leader, like in title as well as not just action. And so I want you as leaders to think about the people on your staff. You have extroverts, you have introverts. Just because you have introverts doesn't mean you have people who can't do the job. They just won't tell you they can do the job because maybe they're shy or whatever. It is your job as the leader to pull that out of them and see what they can do because you're the leader. And if you hire a bunch of extroverts, then all your meetings are just going to be filled with talking. You're not going to get anything done. But that's why we have a team. And again, I like talking about football because there are such a wide variety of body types on a football team. You got these big, huge, giant, fat guys in the middle, and you got the little skinny guys who run really fast on the outside. And, you've got these, basketball teams kind of homogenous in the body types. But on a football team, you've got these big, giant guys in the middle. You got the little skinny guys on the end, and they both are valuable. They both play a role and have a job and a purpose on the team. Just like your business, your organization, whatever it is that you have, you can't have all of the same people. You got to have different kinds of people. And that's a benefit. But you as a leader need to recognize that and recognize what the strengths and weaknesses of your different people are so that you know how to shoulder tap to the right people to put them in the right positions. That's your job. Todd, I don't have time to figure out people. I have to lead this business. This is leading the business. If you can put the right people in place, you lessen your workload, and then you can focus more on mission, vision, setting goals, and doing the things that only you as the business owner and leader can do. You have people in production. You shouldn't be in production. Let them do that. That's why you've hired them to do that. Now, do you need to go down there and know what's going on? Absolutely. But that's why you hire those people to do that. Don't get bogged down in the things that other people can do. That's what you've hired them for. Do the things that only you can do and delegate the rest. Does that make sense? Hope so. Thank you for joining me this week. I appreciate your time. I hope you're catching this on the replay. And if you have any questions, feel free, reach out to me. I would love to discuss any leadership possibilities that you have questions about, and maybe I could help you. So if we're a good fit, let's have a conversation about that. Thanks for joining me this week. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you next week on the People First Weekly webinar. Have a great day, everybody.